Hi, Healing Step to Wellness. I'm Dr. J.
And I am May, your trusted guide to whole person health.
One step
And one bite
at a
at a
time.
time. Hi, it's a pleasure and very honored that we have our remarkable friend Chuck Carroll come to be our guest today. And I have been waiting for this moment to have a great chat with Chuck, as he is also avid podcast host, many years of experience in the radio industry as a profession. I am looking forward to many advice from him to become even closer to a good host like him.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
So, Chuck, with that say, would you please introduce yourself and share with our audience about who you are and your remarkable health journey?
Mm.
And from there, we have a couple questions for you, and so we can have a great chat, and we look forward to it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, who am I? I mean, that's kind of the million-dollar question. Who is anybody? But I'll tell you who I am more than anything. Just a really fortunate individual to be able to do what I do and love to come to work every day. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to do radio, and I always thought I would be a shock jock like Howard Stern or something like that. And then got into sports, and I love doing that. But nothing is more fulfilling than having the opportunity to inspire and educate and help to lead others into a healthier lifestyle, like I do with the Exam Room podcast, which I host for the Physicians Committee. And just to have the reach that we have, reached, tens of millions of people all over the world, and the gratitude that we receive from so many people who have done what they think is impossible in terms of improving their health, losing weight, reversing diabetes, heart disease, things like that. It just means the world to me. It's so much better than any paycheck I could ever possibly ask for. And then it opens the door for me to meet incredible leaders in the community like Dr. J and May, who are now dear friends of mine. And yeah, I mean, who am I? I'm just the luckiest individual in the entire world, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Well, think about how many of your dear friends can offer you a community garden.
Right? I mean, this is what I love about coming to Rochester and seeing you guys is and I tell everybody that I meet, and I talk to so many doctors, and I'm like, you guys have to see what the Rochester Clinic is doing. They have this garden right next to the clinic, and they give them the opportunity to fill the prescription for produce right then and there. And then they donate the rest to the community and the Ronald McDonald House. And it's just like, you guys are true movers and shakers. You inspire me. And I can tell you, like talking to doctors who are not in the plant-based community, even they are inspired by what it is that you all are doing. So you're definitely on the right track. So thank you guys so much for having me today and to welcome me with open arms, and be part of the Lotus Health Foundation family. Like this is a lot of fun for me.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. So beautiful. We should do more like this. Okay, Chuck.
Once a
You
week, let's do it.
okay, you also have you have a reputation in um inspiring people about the health transformation, and you have such a beautiful uh also well known as a weight loss champion. So, and you also wear that very inspiring hat, especially inspire me every time when I was almost to have the thought about giving up, say why I'm doing this. And it's just amazing every time when I have that thought. It just pop up. Okay. Sometimes it's a little bit creepy, but but truly, when I saw your head on wearing your hat and then gave out a very short encouragement message starting from last year, and I was just thinking about, wow, I truly should pay attention. A lot of people, they really need help and really need the healthy information out there to guide them. And I just cannot give up. I have to continue to do that. And so, to us to have the another year, which is our seventh annual Community Wellness Symposium, the largest one by far, with our organization this year, early in April. You are one of the main force behind it. Thank you. And please share with us about your inspiring story and can continue to help people. Don't give up. That's a message today.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing, and thank you. I mean, I love the symposium, and coming to Rochester, like I said, it's just one of my favorite places to travel to. Um, but never give up. It can encompass so many things. I mean, for me, the message really began when I was in my mid 20s, 420 pounds. Didn't think I would live to see 30 years old. And I wanted to live, and I had gone up and down the scale so many times, and I felt like my heart was already starting to fail and get tight. And I knew that heart attacks ran in my family. I couldn't walk more than a few steps without feeling like an elephant was sitting on my chest. I always make that analogy when I'm giving my talks. And I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I wasn't ready to throw in the towel. And that's really when the never give up mentality kicked in. And so, at a young age, literally on my 27th birthday, went in for, weight loss surgery. And I learned very quickly that that was only the first step, and that weight loss surgery could very much become just like any other diet that I had been on, where
Mhm.
you lose the weight and then put it back on. But my mentality going into it was, well, at least this way I'll get to see 30 and then 40, and then I can go to my grave saying that I had tried everything. Little did I know that that was going to be the beginning of, a whole new life for me that has been the most rewarding journey of my life. That said, the weight loss surgery was only a small portion of what it actually means to be healthy. And it's
Mhm.
so much more than just having a procedure. You still have
Mhm.
to change your life. And I
Mhm.
got so fortunate and so lucky to have stumbled upon, what I think is real medicine and real nutrition and real health. And that's really what got me to the point where I am today.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, I think before we start, we really want to talk about the weight loss surgery because people say it's so successful. But there's one thing people don't realize, the definition of success of the weight loss surgery, right? So, for example, Chuck has lost 280 pounds after the surgery. If he had regained 270 pounds, and it was still would be called a
Mm.
success. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Oh yeah, 100%. That's correct. I mean, and the thing of it is there's no real clear definition of success. That's why in these studies that you see, the long-term ones, they will say a successful surgery is somebody who has maintained, a 10-pound weight loss, even though they lost, close to 300. And you
Mhm.
tell me, anybody, can go on a diet and lose 10 pounds. Do you consider that to be a success if you regain all of that weight? I certainly don't.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm really curious about how you got into the wellness, how you got
Mhm.
into this plant-based diet.
Mhm.
Oh man, it was just pure luck. Honestly, it honestly, this is the most unique entry into the plant-based space ever. Was I was working as a sports reporter for CBS, and I was interviewing um, football players and things like that, just having the time of my life. And one day, our agent came to us. I was co-hosting a show with an NFL player,
Mm.
not a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry, Dr. J. Um,
Okay.
he was playing for the team here in Washington. He was with the Commanders, and they asked if we would be interested in working with this organization called PCRM
Mm.
and doing a teaming up for health campaign, which was athletes and sports media personalities. And of course, we wanted to do it. We didn't know anything about plant-based diets. We thought maybe being vegan meant you were in a cult. We didn't know. And so we just went ahead and we said, yeah, because we wanted to inspire people to be healthier. And little did I know, we were about to get a crash course on everything that was right about eating healthy.
Oh.
You always hear like put, fruits and vegetables on your plate, and that's
Mhm.
important. But nobody ever told you why it was important, how much you need to eat, and the fact that you don't need to eat meat or dairy or anything like that in order to be healthy. And as a matter of fact, you're even healthier if you don't eat, meat and dairy, and you take that out of your
Mhm.
diet. And that really kind of opened my eyes. And then a couple of years later, I'm interviewing a
Mhm.
professional wrestler who had just released a book about his plant powered journey to the top of the wrestling profession. This is a guy that was in WWE and had wrestled on WrestleMania. And he's talking about eating a plant-based diet. And I'm like, wow. And he's like, yeah, man, you should really, watch, these documentaries and read these books. And I got hooked. And the next day, I went plant-based. And shortly thereafter, we started the Exam Room podcast. And, it's my life has never been the same. It's been so much better.
Wow. Wow. How amazing. How amazing that you from your personal healthy journey, but get in, through your professional got world and then got connected to the PCRM and to do really the health transformation through PCRM. So with that said, Lotus House Foundation and Rochester Clinic
Panic.
also were kind of inspired by PCRM with plenty of information guidance for healthcare professionals and even with a lot of information for general public. And way back to 10 years, I would say 10 years ago, when I learned from our medical doctor about the opportunity or any chance to, we call, put the type 2 diabetes into remission, that really was a shocking news for me. And we had a chance to learn more about PCRM and Dr. Neil Barnard. And now has been very instrumental to our clinic and organization since ever. And so now, wherever we go, we always have a PCRM's educational information out there to educate the public. So, would you please share more about the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine and your role and how many podcasts that you have done and how many guests you have interviewed?
Oh my goodness. So last part first. I mean, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doctors, and we're closing in on our 700th podcast. So that'll be out sometime before the end of the year, which is a lot. And
Yes.
and yeah, it's to have reached, like I said, tens of millions of people, and become the number one nutrition podcast in
Mm-hmm.
something like 50 countries around the world,
Wow.
is pretty crazy. When you think about it, really never thought that would happen. So, yeah, so that's that. And then the Physicians Committee. I mean, this is an organization that is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year
Mm-hmm.
and has done such tremendous work in terms of nutrition education and inspiring people again on a global basis. And a lot of the studies that you read about putting, diabetes into remission or improving there and insulin resistance, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that is thanks to the work that our team of researchers do. I mean, these guys are on the cutting edge of it and have worked with everybody from the NIH to partnered with Geico. Yeah, the insurance agency went in and worked with their employees and saw just remarkable gains in terms of their health and their productivity and their overall quality of life. We
Wow.
published the Geico study, and that thing just blew up. And so we're continuing. Even now, we have diabetes trials going on at the Physicians
Mm-hmm.
Committee, and the response that we're seeing from people who have never in their life previously been able to take control of their blood sugar and bring it down is just so incredible. And the fact that they're able to do it while eating, fruit and vegetables like sweet potatoes that have been shunned in terms of traditional, and I'll put that in quotes, diabetes type diets. The freedom that comes with that for so many of these participants is eye-opening. And I guess to sum up what PCRM does in short is they treat the root cause of these diseases as opposed to just the symptoms. And that makes all the difference of the world. And that's how people are able to truly return to eating these healthy foods that are going to fuel them into a much healthier future.
Absolutely. So I really love the video Dr. Barna had about your 10 million download. That was hilarious. I really love the video, and we should have played that sometime. And in terms of the work PCRM has done, another thing I really want to touch is about the food addiction. How you feel during the food addiction, how the plant-based diet actually is anti-addiction. Well, unless you like me, really love the broccoli. I cannot start my day without broccoli during my breakfast. But yeah, so that's a food addiction. That's I remember you mentioned about the A word, or people that the food giants don't want to mention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, food addiction, that's a huge part of my story personally. So, in terms of how a plant-based diet helps with that, like it's incredibly liberating, especially if you're eating healthier fruits and vegetables and dishes like that. Broccoli, is it's an incredible food. I love broccoli. I don't start my day with it, but the day doesn't end without me eating it either. So man, I'm right there with you. But listen, I mean, here's the thing. It's like if I look at, like the $20 a day that I used to spend on Taco Bell, and I look at how my brain reacts to that. When I give my talks in person, I always use the brain scans that they did in this very famous NIH food addiction study that shows somebody using cocaine and then somebody eating a donut. And you see the way that the pleasure centers in the brain react is identical. And that's because there's sugar, there's fat, there's salt in so many of these ultra processed foods that I think like make up about 70% of the typical person's diet here in the US. It's just like an incredibly high number. And it is that high because the foods that we eat are designed to be addictive. But I mean, here's the thing, you're not going to go through detox or withdrawal if you don't get your broccoli in the morning, Dr. J. I mean, you may be a little bit grumpy, but you're not going to go through like a detox like I did when I was getting off of fast food, and I actually went through like a physical withdrawal. And so when you eat these healthier foods, they can absolutely be delicious, but your body's not going to become physically addicted to them or mentally addicted. You're going to get really kind of like hooked on how you feel because you're going to feel great, but you're not going to become physically addicted to these foods. And so once you give your body a time to adapt and go through a literal, I do call it a detox because that's what it is, off of, the standard American diet that's just filled with potato chips and French fries and cheeseburgers and pizza and things like that. Once your body goes through that and you give it time to adapt, you're going to be so much better off, and your taste buds are going to change, and all of the high fat, high salt, high oil foods that you had been eating before, you're not going to crave them. You're not going to want them. And I dare say I'm not going to reintroduce them, but I'm sure if I did go back to Taco Bell at any point in my life, it's not going to taste good to me anymore. It's going to be way too salty, way too fatty, way too oily. And I'm just going to want to go and eat broccoli instead, because that's what my taste buds are used to at that point.
And I think that's very important. We talk about the whole food, or not just plant-based, but it's really the whole food, not a process. Because like you mentioned, the highly processed, they have oil, salt, sugar, everything inside. That's the same as the vegan processed food. So I'm okay with for a bridge food, as we mentioned, but I would not encourage my patients or anyone to have that a lot. And but another thing that what you mentioned about the taste, so a lot of time my patients ask me how I be able to get into the plant-based diet. I say it's lucky me. My wife is a very good cook.
Well, thank you very much for that for that kind of interesting point. But Chuck, can you share with us that what is the withdrawal? Interesting when you're talking about a food addiction. A lot of people, they don't even think there's such a thing. But you did several presentation to many people, including 2 weeks ago when you were in Minnesota. You delivered that beautiful half-hour presentation. You connect to so many people. They had a lot of questions. What is the what that looks like is in terms of the physical and mental withdrawal, and also how you do the detox.
Yeah. So, I mean, the presentation you're talking about that I gave just a couple of weeks ago, that was actually to a group of individuals who were literally in a sober living house, and they were struggling with traditional substances of abuse, whether that be drugs or alcohol. And when I was talking about what my experience was like detoxing off of food, it resonated with them because it is very similar. I remember for me, it was you feel sick and you feel angry and you get the cold sweats, and it's just like anger on another level. And I remember like going 3 days at one point, just 3 days without fast food, and becoming so sick that I felt like I had the flu, and I was like just cold sweats, profusely sweating, laying in bed. And then like all I could think about at the same time was, when am I going to get my next trip to the drive-thru? When am I going to get my next fix of a beef grilled stuffed burrito from Taco Bell? And I got so angry and so fixated because I hadn't had it. I literally got up feeling as sick as I did, and I punched my fist through a wall, hoping that would calm me down. And when it didn't, I punched my fist through a door. And you see these documentaries about people who are going through withdrawal on drugs or alcohol, and you see how enraged they get. Their body reacts the same way. And I went and I snuck out of the house and I relapsed that night, and I loaded up on Taco Bell, and as soon as I took that first bite, my body calmed down, my mind calmed down, and I felt normal again. But that's also when the idea of food addiction first hit me, and that was a pretty profound night, and it would be years before I was able to finally kick that. And make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. I had to have that weight loss surgery. I felt at the time I had to have the weight loss surgery in order to do this. I think that the most important thing that the weight loss surgery did for me was it forced me to go through that detox where I could not physically eat fast food or high fat food, high salt food for 3 to 6 months. And it forces you to get off of it. And that's an invasive surgery. Think about that. I literally, Dr. J, had to rewire my insides in order to beat this addiction. And I'm somebody who used to smoke a lot of pot, who used to smoke a lot of cigarettes, had his fair share of beer. And I was able to like kick all of those things without surgical assistance, but I was not able to kick food without that surgical intervention.
And I think that's very important, that sometimes we just need to have something to kickstart or get ourselves ready, physically or mentally ready for a change.
Yeah.
And that's the issue I see right now. People with Ozempic, GLP-1 medication, they thought that was the only solution or the quick fix. However, they don't really realize that it doesn't really treat the root cause. And
Exactly.
they are losing a lot of muscle mass when they lose weight,
Yeah.
which is not the optimal. And so how would you think of compare the surgery and Ozempic right now, and what type of advice you would give people who are taking Ozempic?
I view Ozempic, any of those GLP-1, antagonists, I view them all kind of similarly to surgery or any other kind of weight loss jumpstart. It's like you can do that if you feel like that's what you need to get you over that initial hurdle, but you're never, ever, ever going to escape the thing that you're trying to escape. And that is the fact that you ultimately need to eat healthier and exercise a little bit more, just lead an overall healthier life. There is no magical solution, no magical pill, no magical shot, no magical surgery that can help you avoid that. And so just to embrace that and accept it and make those changes, that's what's going to help. But make no mistake about it, the way that the food is prepared in this country, the majority of it, it is so hard to kick on your own. And so I don't begrudge anybody for seeking out those solutions. But as you do that, you also need to implement substantial changes in the foods that you're eating and the way that you're living your life. You don't have to do it overnight, but you
Mhm.
darn sure have to make that gradual change and move into that healthier, lifestyle. Otherwise, no matter what road you go down in order to lose that weight, you're always going to wind up in the exact same place that you started from.
So you probably heard a lot of people ask you about, okay, what's my baby step? What should I do? Should I dive in 100% or should I gradually do that? What is the most successful stories from your advice?
I'm an all in overnight kind of guy. That's my
Mm-hmm.
personality. And that's
Mm-hmm.
always what has been successful for me. A lot of times I didn't even plan to make big changes in my life on a certain day, but for whatever reason I did, and it was just like we're going for it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's been able to change because it helps me establish very clear parameters as far as
Mm-hmm.
what I can and cannot do, and that's what helps me. Other people, they are able to tiptoe into the waters, and take a more gradual approach. Personally, I think that if you just cannonball, hold your nose, and tough it out for 3 weeks or whatever, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be more successful. That said, there are people who are more successful if they do it gradually, but I think that when you also do it gradually, it's harder to have that long-term success. It makes it easier to slip up and go off
Mm-hmm.
course because you're still entertaining the
Mm-hmm.
very foods, the very unhealthy things that have brought you to this unhappy place, this unhealthy place in the first place. So just have a long conversation with yourself in the mirror. Are you the gradual type? And I think that if you've had a lot of failed diets where you tried to wean yourself off of unhealthy food before
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't been successful, odds are it's probably time to go overnight and just go
Mm-hmm.
hardcore and go all in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
regardless how you get started, this is really a long game.
Mm.
So I would really like to know how you personally stay grounded and motivated in your
Mm.
wellness routine and all
Mhm.
for this long game.
Well,
Mhm.
it's because I don't want to
Especially you have a very
disappoint
busy
you.
schedule.
I do. I think for me, I do feel a lot of pressure having the job that I do to stay on the straight and narrow. And, I feel like I don't want to let anybody down, who may be looking up to me or looking to the show for advice and they may be struggling. And, I want to continue to be that beacon of inspiration for them. So I don't take that responsibility lightly at all. But the other thing is, I also remember distinctly what life was like at 420 pounds and the health concerns that I had and the fears that I had and not being able to walk up a flight of stairs, for goodness sakes. I am not eager at all to go back to that. And I know that life for me, my overall quality of life now is so much better than it was before. Why would I ever want to return to feeling miserable all day, every day, and have blood pressure, even on blood pressure medication that's still like 180 over 100 and just be a walking heart attack waiting to happen? That's not life, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's well said. Because before we adopt the whole food plant-based nutrition, I just remember I constantly had the acid reflux. And I thought that being Asian, we had a pretty darn good diet. What do you mean that I need to have any way to improve? And so until I fully understand what the whole food plant-based nutrition is, a lot of podcast talking and also PCRM. There's a lot of educational information, American College of Lifestyle Medicine for healthcare professionals. And I kind of just at that time the uh the plant-based forward the lifestyle medicine information just explode um ahead, just unfold in front of us. And it was like a aha moment for us to change a lot of the things. And I think education play a big role for us to make the right choice instead of having a list that say you don't do this, you don't do that, which doesn't stick too long. So that was my health transformation. And also I'm able to use this knowledge to share with my two precious children and for them to also learn the lifelong skill. And then Dr. J, you also have some personal health impact after the whole food plant-based nutrition. Like,
Yes.
one time I asked you then, when was the last time you took the, pen pill for your headache? And you say, oh, I don't remember. It has been a couple months already.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I remember just finished my fellowship, started working. That yeah, I have Tylenol, ibuprofen everywhere. In my car, at home, at work, there's always a bottle for me. But
Mhm.
it the need just disappeared. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yes.
Yeah.
So Chap, you mentioned about it's a long game, it's a well motivated game. So what does community play in the healing
Mhm.
and wellness in your view?
Mhm.
Well, community is hugely important. And I think that, you realize the more success you've had in terms of maintaining your health for any length of time, the more kind of a leadership role you can take in that community. And I'll give you a perfect example. Right after the weight loss surgery, every single week we had to come in and have, kind of like a community roundtable with patients who had recently also had the surgery, and we would talk about, our successes and our challenges of the week. And over time, I start to see a lot of people kind of fall off the wagon, and we see them reintroduce a lot of these foods. They'd be snacking on candy, they'd be drinking soda during the meeting, and the dietitian, who was with us, they would always say, well, everything in moderation, just, eat less of it, drink less soda than you used to. That never really made sense to me because I knew about food addiction, and I knew that the stomach is very much like a balloon and can expand over time, and you eat
Oh.
more candy and more soda and more fast food and blah blah blah, you'll be right back to where it is that you began. But I wanted to be a leader for this community, and I wanted to, as their weight loss began to, slow down or even, start to climb back up the scale, I wanted to be the guy that was maintaining that weight loss and being a leader for them, and I got competitive with it, and it's like, am I still going to outdo everybody? Am I still going to be that inspiration? Am I still going to become the guy that they ask, well, what are you doing that I'm not? I want to be able to give other people that blueprint. And so for me, it's about being a leader in the community to show them that there is a healthier path forward. And here's what's been working for me. I think it's going to work for you too. Just give it a try. It's not going to be easy, obviously, but give this a try because I've been doing it. The people who I know who have been successful long term, this is what's worked for them as well. And we're no different from you. And so if we all work together to, build these blueprints for each
Mhm.
other, it kind of spreads out into the community. And over time, a little bit
Mhm.
slower than we might like, you do begin to build these healthier communities.
Yes, I do like to tell my patients that moderation kills.
So Chuck, I'm so glad that you mentioned about the community from your, experience, and you have attended our community wellness symposium and gala for 2 years in the past. 2 years already.
Mhm.
So what is the takeaway? And then what would you suggest the other community to do something from the baby step to see more of this happening?
You know what? I think it's time just to build these small events in your community. It doesn't have to be big and grand, like like the Lotus Health Foundation symposium, but just start with something.
Mhm.
Invite somebody over for dinner. You don't even have
Mhm.
to tell them that it's plant based. Just hey,
Mhm.
we're making a feast. You want to come over and eat with us?
Mhm.
You can, for me, one of the communities that I try to reach are, my fellow sports fans, guys, guys that, typically like to drink beer and eat chicken wings and pizza and things like that.
Mhm.
Have them over to watch the game.
Mhm.
Again, don't tell them that they're cauliflower wings. But serve up the food, and odds are they're not going to know the difference until afterwards. You can break it down. It's like, hey, man, I just saved you a bunch of calories and a ton of cholesterol, and you're probably not in a food coma. You're going to be wide awake for the fourth quarter. Pretty cool, right? And they're like, oh, wow, opens the conversation like that. It shatters that stigma because, eating a plant-based diet, not eating meat does not mean that you're weak. And so I love introducing, people who ordinarily would be so shut off to this way of eating. I love introducing them to it and just seeing their eyes open, and it's like one person at a time. One person at a time, we're making big differences. So just start by inviting somebody over for dinner, and then once you see that you can, influence the mind of somebody who is, really closed off, you've done it with one person. Why can't you do it with another and another and another and another, and just build up, over time.
Yeah.
Whether it be dinner parties, whether it be hosting events at a community center, it doesn't always have to be big. You don't have to sell out an arena here. You
Yeah.
just have to change one life at a time.
Yeah, it's a very sustainable way.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite dish you normally share with your friends?
Well, I think that the way to the hearts of a lot of people is through dessert. And so I love making my famous chocolate ice cream or smoothie, depending on the day. When I'm serving other people, I'll just call it a milkshake. I won't call it a smoothie. I was like, hey, man, I'm going to go make a
Milkshake.
chocolate milkshake. And it's got kale, it's got frozen bananas, it's got blueberries in there, it's got some raw cacao powder in there. We sweeten it up with some dates and and maybe even some cherries and pineapple. So it's really sweet,
Yeah.
but we make sure, and then some unsweetened plant milk in there, usually almond milk, and or if it's a gym goer, I'll use soy milk for a little extra protein,
Yeah.
and just blend it up so it's like nice and thick, and so the predominant flavor is the chocolate with the dates doing the sweetening. And I don't tell them that there's kale in there. I don't tell them that maybe there's some black beans in there to make it a little extra thick. They don't know. All they know is that it tastes really good. And the first time that I made that for my mother and father-in-law, they had no idea what was in it. But these people love Dairy Queen, and they were like, "This is so much better than any Blizzard I've ever had." And so, every time I would go down there, my father-in-law lives with us now, so I make them pretty regularly. But every time I used to go down to visit them with my wife, I would always bring the blender so I could make those milkshakes, and they loved them. They loved them.
Send me the recipe
I will.
because we have health talk and cooking demo upcoming Monday, and I'm
Okay.
just going to call it milkshake.
There it is. I mean, so look, I will tell you, like, I've never measured it out. I've always been like an eyeball kind of a guy.
Yes. Yes.
But I'll say, like, if you're okay, like a handful of this and a scoop of that, then we're good.
Okay. I think that's gonna just make sure that. But did you throw in ice cubes as well?
I did, but I use frozen bananas, so I
Yeah.
really try to cut back on the ice cubes because I want it to be as thick as possible
Yeah,
for
makes
people.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what do? Yeah, that's good enough. All right, so anything from Dr. J? I have been talking a lot, asking a lot of questions. Just want to give it Dr. J opportunity.
Well, because I'm thinking the next interview I'll talk a lot, so I'll let you talk more this time.
So, what would say, I know that you are coming back next year for our 8th annual Community Wellness Symposium again. And then we are going to have the virtual as well. And of course, always a fun to be in person because we have a tons of great food, wonderful food. Everything is a whole food, plant-based, no animal product. But people didn't know that as they just enjoy the colorful food. What would you what would be the highlight you would suggest the audience? Say, tune in, come join the next year's event and worth their time if you think that is worth the
Well, I mean, selfishly, I would say come see me, hang out, because we're going to be recording episodes of the exam
Yes.
room.
Yes.
But I think, really the highlight is you guys always bring in so many fascinating doctors that give these incredible presentations. And the one that really struck me was Dr. Dawn Musalem. And I've never met anybody who has been through so much in her life and is still so positive and and inspiring and just wants to help change the world. And she does that. And somebody who had you know uh, overcome cancer and had a heart transplant and lost her husband and never let life get her down. And on the very first anniversary of receiving a heart transplant, she became the first woman in the world to complete a full marathon. And it's
Yeah.
just like, who does that other than
Mhm.
Dr. Dawn Musalem? Nobody. And
Yeah.
what's really helping her run? Eating this way. And so
Yes.
I think that, when you hear stories like that,
Mhm.
it makes you think like, what am I capable of doing with my life? It's
Yeah.
so much more than just weight loss. It's so much
Mhm.
more than just improving your health, because once
Mhm.
you do those two things, you realize that nothing is impossible. And I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70 years old,
Mhm.
then you get
Mhm.
the opportunity to ask, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? Because
Right.
now you have more time, quality
Right.
time to do everything that you've ever wanted to do with your life.
Mm.
And so this is just a way to make dreams come true. And I'm not trying to oversell anything, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts that once you recapture your health, nothing can stop you, because that is what we perceive to be the most difficult thing in the world. And once you realize that you can control that, everything else is a plant-based cakewalk.
Yeah, yeah, it truly that Dr. Musalem is a very remarkable physician and a role model for a lot of people to look up. So that exactly say what you have right here, never give up. Looking at her, she has such a great purpose for people in the world, and she inspires so many people. It's truly finding the passion inside you, and that is the drive for us to do what we really enjoy doing. The same as many other doctors who are really chipping their time to share their experience and do as much influence they can to educate the new young physicians around them, and that's truly remarkable, like Dr. Carson at the Mayo
Yes.
Clinic. Yeah.
Love Brian Carlson. Dr. Brian Carlson. He's an amazing human being.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I usually did. I tell my patients that the goal is not to keep you live longer or forever. No, it's just to improve quality. It's really the quality that matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal of the lifestyle medicine.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
for
Absolutely.
the next year, we do have a few confirmed speakers already.
Yeah.
Yeah, for example, Dr. Merlin will be coming back, the vascular surgeon, talk
Mm-hmm.
about the simple naive hypertension, how that from the vascular appointment, the health of vessels, how that can lead to Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's
Dr.
something that people don't usually realize. He didn't even know he could talk about that, but
and Dr. Neil Barnard, that he is a coming in person. I'm so excited for that.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah,
and
and
we
we
also
also,
have a new
yeah,
session with Brenda Davis and the
yeah.
famous May. She
Well,
also is a workshop.
not only that, we also have the play, of course, we have the pleasure to have the AMA president,
Yeah,
Dr. Bobby
uh,
McMullen.
right.
Yeah,
Wow.
He will
yeah,
be our keynote speaker and also
yeah.
conducting the grand rounds at the Mayo Clinic.
And we have other physicians still in the process to be confirmed. Yes, so we are very excited for next year's event.
Outstanding. I can't wait. I can't wait. It can't come soon enough, you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. So, do you have a final advice
Hmm.
for our audience?
And how we find you?
Oh, sure. How do you find me? Well, I'm all over social media, Instagram, X, Facebook. Just look for Chuck Carroll, WLC, as in weight loss champion.
Mm.
And then the show, we are everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just look for the Exam Room Podcast, and you'll see my picture come up, and I'm holding a pineapple because I love pineapple.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just give that a subscription
Mhm.
and follow, and just dive into the research. Raise your health
Mhm.
IQ by a point or
Mhm.
two, as I like to say. And that's what
Mhm.
we do with every single episode. It doesn't matter how long you've been in this game or how many podcasts you've you've heard, you're going to learn something with every episode. I certainly feel that way as the host, so I can only imagine what it's like for the audience, and so I'm really really grateful. And as far as like anything that I would like to leave with the audience is, listen, recently I have really learned that it's more important now than ever to never give up. And as I say, as long as you wake up in the morning and you're breathing, you have a chance to improve your health. And so don't squander that chance. Make the most of it. You will learn just how strong you can be and how much your body can handle, how resilient your body can become. So prove to yourself that you are every bit the Superman, the Superwoman, that all of these health heroes that you have seen, you have the same capabilities. You are that superhero as well. And that either means that we're all superheroes or we're all even. But I think for the inspiring part, we're all superheroes. So tap into your Marvel superpowers and see just how healthy you can become.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
So
thank you very much.
beautiful. Yeah, we gotta come back for another so many episodes because you are so inspiring. And yeah, you truly are my role model.
Thank you. Likewise, my
So
friend.
so now we really thank you for joining us for this wonderful chat. And so should we close our podcast today? And Dr.
Sure,
J?
sure. Thanks everyone for joining us on Healing Step to Wellness. I'm Dr. J.
I'm May, guiding you toward the whole person health.
One step
And one bite at a
at a
time.
time.
We'll see you next time. Thank you,
Next time.
Chuck.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Chuck. Bye now.
Bye.